What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the games that I simply couldn't finish or the games that I bounced off of. So should be a fun discussion, a little bit different, but nonetheless should be a fun one, so hope you guys enjoy. Now obviously I'm not going to talk about every single game over the course of my 31-year lifespan that I bounced off of, because if I did, we would be here for a goddamn eternity. But we are going to go ahead and discuss the games that I have bounced off of in the last year or so. And the reason that I'm setting this timeline is because about a year ago is when I started taking YouTube content seriously. And if you're unfamiliar with me, hello, my name is Cameron and I make YouTube videos just about video games and a bunch of weird stuff. But the primary focus of my channel is a review series called After the Credits, where I beat a game, roll credits, and then I discuss the game after I roll the credits for the game. So that being said, I do have a little bit more of an incentive to actually complete games than the average person, or than I guess I would if I wasn't making these reviews for my channel. So I would say that I give games a much longer chance, or a much stronger chance, than I would had I not been making content for this channel. So I think that's what sets this video apart a little bit, is that these are just games that, even despite that, still couldn't get through to the end. All right, last thing I want to mention before we dive into the actual meat of the video here is the fact that I'm going to try to list these games from what I consider to be like least offensive to most offensive, with the game at the very bottom being one that I think is going to raise a few eyebrows, to say the least, but we'll get to that bridge when we get to that bridge. As I'm going to say throughout this video, there's some of these games I want to get back to, and some of these games, genres in specific, that I might have just realized aren't for me. So either way, it's going to be a fun one, but let's stop dragging the intro out and we'll talk about the first game, which is Assassin's Creed 3. So yes, I dropped Assassin's Creed 3 right at the beginning of 2024, and this is unfortunately kind of a sad one for me, because Assassin's Creed represents a time in my gaming journey where I had just experienced a massive gaming burnout. And what I was playing right before that burnout was a bunch of multiplayer games. I was playing League of Legends, which causes chronic depression. I was playing Rainbow Six Siege, Counter-Strike 2 at the time. I was playing, you know, anything multiplayer that I could get my hands on with my friends. And to be quite honest, I hit a fucking hard-ass wall and essentially didn't want to play any video games at all. And what that led into was me making a conscious decision at that point to kind of switch my focus over to the games that I enjoyed as a kid, which were more story-focused, story-based, and not so much competitive multiplayer, because that was just starting to really get on my nerves. And the challenge that I set for myself at that time was to go back and play all of the Assassin's Creed games, which in theory was maybe one of the stupidest goals to possibly set for myself, being that I didn't choose a series or a franchise of games that had 3 games in it that was really achievable. I went for Assassin's Creed, that's got like 15 different mainline games and spin-off games and a bunch of different stuff, and that's not even taking into consideration that the later games in the series are absolute gigantic bloat fests filled with shit to do. So wasn't a realistic goal by any means, but I did play through the first Assassin's Creed, and I played through 2, Brotherhood and Revelations, which is the Ezio trilogy. And then I worked my way up to Assassin's Creed 3. And now I dropped Assassin's Creed 3 not necessarily because of the game itself. There was actually a lot of things in the game that I enjoyed, but I was just really tired of the formula at this point by the time that I had gotten here, because I had done nothing but play these games for half a year or so at this point. So really not the game's fault, and I'm not holding it against the game. And to be quite honest, I actually like a lot of the things that they did with this game. They really changed up the way the character worked. I was a big fan of Connor from what I played of this game. From the previous games with Altair from Assassin's Creed 1 and Ezio from 2 through Revelations, Revengeance, Jesus Christ, wrong series. Ezio and Altair were more of like athletic build guys. They were very slim, very agile, very nimble, so to speak. And Connor was more of a brick shithouse, and they did a really nice job visually, giving him a more broad posture, as well as, you know, redoing his animations to just make him feel like an absolute powerhouse. And I really enjoyed that. And I wasn't falling out of interest in the story itself. I was just out of interest with the entire gameplay loop that Assassin's Creed was giving me at this point. So, yes, I would love to get back to Assassin's Creed 3 in the future. I'm not going to say that it's a game that's really a super big priority, but this one's not gone forever, but ultimately, I did bounce off of it. All right, next game I want to talk about here is Pacific Drive, as you can see from behind me. So, I actually bought this game when it released. Was very, very excited for it. If you know anything about me, I absolutely love racing games of all varieties, driving games, whatever you want to call them. Arcade racers, sim racers, whatever it is, I'm usually invested in and enjoy them a lot. But the interesting thing about Pacific Drive is it is a driving game, but it is a survival driving game, which is a very unique thing, and it really caught my attention. I typically do not like survival games at all. I have played Green Hell, I've played Rust, I've played a few other survival games in my life, and to be honest, I just can't really get into the gameplay loop of survival games. But since this game was a survival game completely based around a car that you drive through a world of anomalies, I was really, really intrigued by that. So I gave it a shot, and I'm not going to say that I didn't like it. I actually did really enjoy it, but ultimately, what happened with this one is just, I got back into League of Legends, and this game just ended up sitting idle on my Steam library for months and months and months and months, going untouched. And to be honest, I feel pretty bad about this one. I would love to get back into this game and give it a real chance in the future. I think I would probably, well, it's a weird one. I think it would be fun to play on PS5, but just because of all the inventory management and things like that, it's probably still better on PC, and I own it on PC, so I should just play it on PC. But this is one that I definitely do want to dive back into in the future to give it another go, just because I wasn't fully committed to this game, and I don't feel like I gave it enough of a chance. So, look for this game in the future. It's definitely one that I want to revisit. Okay, and then we had Woah Long Fallen Dynasty. To be honest, this game I bounced off super fast. This is developed by Team Ninja, who made the Nioh games, which I'm a big fan of. I love Nioh, the original. Haven't played much Nioh 2 yet, to be honest, but Woah Long was developed by them, and of course I love their prior games, so I wanted to dive in. To be honest with this one, though, I just really did not like the party combat system that was introduced in this game. When I play a Souls-like, I don't want to have AI companions kind of all over the place getting in my way and just making things overly complicated. I didn't get far enough to see if that ever kind of dissolved, but it kind of seemed like the whole game was based on working with these AI companions, and it took me out of the immersion, I guess, so to speak, and I just wasn't really a big fan of what the game was offering. So I moved on from this one. I don't think I really have any interest in going back to this. Let me know in the comments down below if this game gets better the longer you play or something like that. But to be quite frank, I just wasn't feeling it, and I decided I didn't want to continue to invest my time in something that I really was not enjoying in the first couple of hours. Next up here is Animal Well. Now, Animal Well released last year to massive positive acclaim by critics and fans alike, and this game was kind of all the rage when it came out, and of course, because of that, I had to jump in and try it myself. Unfortunately, this is kind of a precursor to another game on the list that we're going to get to towards the end of the video, but I think I am completely done with Metroidvanias. I just don't think that I have the brain capacity to wander around a map and look for upgrades to be able to backtrack and then progress further from the backtracked areas. I just don't have the patience, and I understand that that's not the best way to look at it, but hey man, it's my opinion. I'm a 31-year-old guy. I have a lot of responsibilities. I got long work days, and I got to come home and take care of animals, and I don't want to play a game that feels like a chore. And a lot of times, Metroidvanias lately are just not hitting the spot. I just am not enjoying backtracking and doing all that. That being said, Animal Well is a beautiful game, one of the best looking games I've ever played as far as the visual style. It's very simplistic, but very complex at the same time, if that makes sense. And I can understand wholeheartedly why people love it. But for me, I just couldn't get into it at all, and had to set this one off to the side. And like I said, I don't see a time in the future where I'm ever going to really be in the mood to really give it another go. But yeah, this is a hard one for me, but it is what it is. I just couldn't get into it. All right, we are moving on down to the last three. These ones I think are probably going to be controversial, I would say, to say the least. But start off with the least controversial of them all, in my opinion, which is Diablo 2 Resurrected. Now, I love Diablo 3. I've mentioned it before. I think Diablo 3 was really, really good, despite what a lot of other players think. They think 3 kind of stunk with the new change in art style and things of that nature. But I love Diablo 3. I played quite a bit of endgame in that game and had a really good time with it. And last year, I actually played through Diablo from 96, completely stock, no mods, no crazy fancy launcher, nothing like that. I could play the game completely legitimate as you would have played it back in 96 and had a decent time, I guess. I don't know if I really had a great time with the original Diablo, but it was a fun playthrough to kind of revisit that time in gaming history. And then shortly after completing the original Diablo, I jumped into Diablo 2 Resurrected. And to be quite honest, man, when I was playing this game, I just really wasn't hooked at all by anything the game was offering. And to be honest, I don't blame Diablo 2 for this. I just simply blame me being kind of burnt out from the ARPG genre when I jumped into it. I came to this quickly after Diablo 1, and mechanically speaking, Diablo 2 isn't very much different than the original Diablo, especially since I picked a barbarian for both the first Diablo, and then I also had a barbarian in Diablo 2. So I could definitely reapproach this game in the future, maybe taking on a different class to change up the gameplay style a little bit, to hopefully get me back into it. But it's not a game I'm looking into doing a full playthrough of anytime really soon, just because I had such a woeful kind of middling experience with Act 1 of Diablo 2 when I did play through it. But it's one I definitely want to get back to, hopefully. I'm just going to have to reapproach it from a different mindset, and I'm not quite ready to do that yet. So this is one that's definitely going to be on the backlog. It kind of sucks because I would have loved to have had Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 videos for after the credits release in subsequent years. But I think this one's going to get kicked down the road a little bit further, just until I'm ready to kind of take it on. I will say the visual uplifts that this game got look really, really incredible. So I think the game is very visually appealing. Just mechanically, a little too similar to the first game, and I was just kind of tired of the formula. Kind of similar to how things went with Assassin's Creed 3, to be honest. It was just tired of the formula, tired of the gameplay loops, and couldn't force myself to continue through this at this point in time. All right, next up here, this is a rough one, but it is what it is. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Now, I don't need to really explain that this game is truly beloved by nearly everyone that plays it, but essentially what happened to me with this playthrough is I got up to where the world inverts, which I don't even think is that far in the game, to be honest. I really don't know, but I played it, got to that point, the world inversed, and then I realized I kind of had to backtrack through the world that I'd already explored. Just now it was a little different, and I wasn't interested in doing that at all, to be quite honest. So I just pretty much got to that point, saw that world flip happen, and said, nah, and just stopped playing entirely at that point. But I will say that I played this before I started the After the Credits series, and I think if I played it with my current mindset, I would have been able to push through that very, very minor grievance that I had to progress. So I'm not going to say this game is never coming back, but when I did play it, that's what put me off from it. I think the combat's cool and good for what it is. I mean, it's an old game, but holds up incredibly well visually today. Mechanically holds up very well today. I just hit a very minor inconvenience and said fuck it, and that was that. So definitely look to get into this again in the future sometime. But yeah, it is one that I bounced off of that I thought was interesting, so thought I'd include it in this list. And we'll see, man. I hope to get back to it sometime in the future. And the last game, the most controversial game for sure on this list, and that is Hollow Knight. Now, this is a playthrough that I just started a couple weeks ago, and this all goes back to the conversation we had talking about Animal Well, to be honest. I could not tolerate getting lost in this game constantly, going back to different areas to try to find different little secrets that I could use to explore the map further. I just wasn't feeling it whatsoever. To give you context on where I got to where I unlocked the wall jump, which was very good. I actually got the feeling of why people play these games, because I felt like I kind of broke the game open once I unlocked that wall jump and was able to kind of explore and traverse things a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, man, I just wasn't completely sold. I would say that I was very excited to go into the game when I first started, my first few hours. I was having a ton of fun when I was going to all these different locations. But when it got to the point that I really had to start backtracking and revisiting areas that I'd already been to with no direction of where to go and things like that, I just couldn't stomach it. And again, I think this is just tied into the fact that I got too much other shit on my mind, and the last thing that I want to do is play a game where I feel like I'm making no progress. I really live for the progression, and when I'm just constantly in a backtrack loop trying to figure out where the fuck I'm going, and I'm just constantly playing the game lost as shit, not knowing what the hell to do, I just couldn't continue on. I think this game has a fantastic combat system, fantastic visual style. I think almost everything in this game that I played is incredibly great. I just don't have the patience or the desire to play Metroidvanias. I think this genre is completely fucked for me. I just don't. I don't have it in me. I really don't. And Hollow Knight is literally one of the most beloved games to release in the past decade. The hype for Silksong is starting to, well, it's been going for years and years at this point, but it's definitely starting to build as Silksong comes to gets closer to release. Air quotes, hopefully. We'll see what happens with that. It's been talked about for a very long time, but it seems like it's getting close, and it's going to be out on Switch 2 and things like that. So I wanted to get involved with the hype, I wanted to get on the hype train. I just couldn't do it. And yes, I could have resorted to looking at a guide and using that to get my way through the game, but I feel like that just completely ruins the entire purpose of playing a Metroidvania in the first place. You're supposed to get rewarded for exploration and for getting to these new areas, but I just didn't enjoy it at all. It just felt tedious to me. And like I said, I'm not blaming the game. I'm not going to blame the game at all for this. It's 100% a me issue. It's a my brain doesn't like this game, and that's all there is to say about it. It absolutely sucks because I'm never going to fully understand all the hype around this game because I dropped it, and to be honest, no intention of returning. So yeah, this is a hard one for me, but just one of those things where I had to realize it's not for me anymore. This genre doesn't do it for me, and this is a casualty of that, unfortunately, but kind of is what it is. I feel guilty as shit about this, but nothing I can do about it. Just how I feel. All right, guys, so that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little discussion on some games that I probably wouldn't have talked about otherwise, or won't be talking about for quite some time. But let me know down in the comments below what games you bounced off of that might raise some eyebrows. I'd love to talk to you guys about them down below. And like and subscribe for more content. We're doing Soulstone Survivors 3 times a week right now, which has been a lot of fun. And I am still working on some stuff for after the credits that I'm not going to disclose here. You will see live streams for some of those games. One of those games I don't think I'm going to live stream, but Sly 3 is still going, so you might see some more live streams for Sly 3 as we progress through time. But other than that, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys take care of yourself. Enjoy your 4th of July here if you're in America. Happy 4th. And we will see you guys on the next video. Take care of yourselves. Tell someone you love them today. It could change their life. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy.